she's so fine. Hell of a hell of a blows my mind. Hell of a hell of a lights my...
What's good, guys? This story is coming out of Evanston, Illinois, and one of my subscribers, Miss Harden, sent this to me. It came out on March the 19th. America's Neighborhood Dreams and Nightmares. Following a double murder in broad daylight, traumatized neighbors plead for protection, empathy, and equal opportunities, urging their community to move forward together. The two men were shot dead 1 week ago, on Friday, March the 12th, 2021. Jose Francisco Sanchez Guerrero, 21, and DeMarcus Anthony Coakley, 20, died by what police have ruled a double homicide in front of their family member's home. An 18-year-old male also, at the scene, suffered non-life-threatening gunshot injuries. It happened in the 1800 block of Hovland Court in Evanston, Illinois, on a leafy street where students from the nearby high school often park their cars. The time was 11:46 a.m., and the sun on that day was 54 degrees, and it was shining. According to the Chicago Sun-Times, after an assailant shot the three young men and took off on foot, the city schools, now open for hybrid instruction, were put on temporary soft lockdowns. As the crime investigation continues, neighbors on Hovland Court want the world to know what they saw. I'll try to describe some of that for you now, though it's hard to know where to begin, since I've never before described a murder scene. Imagine, if you will, the trails and pools of blood, the EMT performing chest compressions on a body dying on a suburban sidewalk, the ambulances, and the urgent ping-pong of neighbors, onlookers, and police. And over there, is that a privacy tarp failing to accomplish its one and only purpose? There's the woman collapsed in the street, her mask pulled below her chin to prevent her open sobs from suffocating her. Here's the yellow police tape draped around the shooting scene, and the red tape hung across nearby neighbors' lawns. Passing by are the pedestrians, slowing to lay eyes on this horrific scene, encouraged by police to, quote, please keep moving, end quote, past yet another American nightmare of gun violence. Neighbors have sent me photos and video taken in the immediate aftermath, snapped by trembling and incredulous fingers in the minutes after the bullets flew. These pictures were taken from living room windows, front porches, and sidewalks. They are horrific. After the shooting, the bodies of two men killed were left splayed across a set of 6 cement steps with metal handrails on both sides. The men were, according to one neighbor, executed in broad daylight. Draped over the top of one handrail is a bright red jacket, turned inside out. A bicycle is propped against the base of the other. At the bottom of the steps is a skateboard, its wheels aimed up towards the heavens. Each photo and video is haunting. They will never leave me, and yet I want it this way. I need to remember what the neighbors of Hovland Court saw on this day, and they ask the same of you. On my phone, I press an arrow to play the video. It's exactly 1 minute and 1 second long in length. It begins with a woman collapsed on the street. Her head is on the pavement. Her body is faced towards the camera. She is clutching her stomach, reacting to something she's just seen. Please, she wails, please tell me that's not DeMarcus. Please, please tell me that's not DeMarcus. The woman looks up to a masked emergency worker standing nearby, then cries up to the heavens, to the skies, help me. The emergency worker leans down, puts one gloved hand on the woman's back and offers the other, encouraging the woman to stand. When the woman gets to her feet, she turns her body slowly towards the two men whose body lie motionless on the ground. No, she yells, just tell me that's not DeMarcus. As she steps toward the house, emergency workers unfurl what appears to be a black tarp. There are now 2 masked personnel at the woman's side, encouraging her not to get any closer, but she does so anyway and reacts to what she sees. Jose! Her scream is primal and her voice echoes off the neighbors' homes. Oh my God! People are everywhere, so many people, but all I can hear in this video is one woman's devastated voice. "Oh my God," she screams. "Oh my God, oh my God. Oh my God, oh my God. This woman's lost all her kids. She lost all her kids. Oh my God, no. Please. Oh no. Oh my God." I use my fingers to pinch in and zoom my phone's screen to get a more detailed look at the photos I've received. This photo shows an injured young man on a stretcher in front of the house, surrounded by an emergency crew. Behind him, though it's blurry, I see someone standing near the first floor window inside the home, holding the white vertical blinds open, peering out onto the chaos in the yard. Was this a child? A parent? A sibling? A medic? A police officer? I cannot tell. But in the faces of those on the street, I clearly see agony, fear, loss, generational trauma, and an unspoken sense of utter futility. Before I received these images, one neighbor describes their feelings. "I don't know what to do," they say, "or even who to turn to. I can't get these images out of my mind. I can't sleep. My friends and family tell us to move, but they don't understand." They elaborate. "People don't understand how hard we worked and how long we dreamed of moving here. Picking up and getting out," the neighbor asks. "It's not that easy. This has to stop. And these victims, they had families too. I'm a parent, and these dead boys were somebody's children." "How can others help?" I ask. It should be said that all of the residents of our street cannot imagine the pain and grief this family's dealing with, I'm told. We send our sympathy and condolences to the families, and we want all the residents of our city to wake up, be accountable, be uncomfortable, and be invested so this will never happen again. I ask, what does your neighborhood need? "Please share this story with everyone," the neighbor tells me. "I am pleading for help on behalf of my family, on behalf of my neighbors, on behalf of our city. We need the right people to understand the pain we feel in our neighborhood. We are traumatized." One neighbor describes their elementary school child walking past the murder scene minutes before the shooting, and their older child walking home from school seeing the bodies on the sidewalk. On March 16th, 4 days after the shooting, this neighbor, who'd previously filed multiple complaints with the city about its lack of prompt response to an abandoned property as well as concerns about neighborhood safety and violence, contacted Evanston's 5th Ward Alderman Robin Rue Simmons via email. "I am now in shock and sick to my stomach. I feel weak, scared, alone, trapped, exhausted, frightened, abandoned, and neglected. I am no longer patient, no longer waiting or willing to risk the health and safety of my family as some neighborhood experiment." The neighbors of Hovland Court are deeply saddened by the lives lost last Friday. We are deeply sympathetic for the families and their losses. We and our families will be forever scarred by this day. Our neighbor has lived here over 20 years and never seen anything like this. It is too close. The Evanston Police Department failed our block. They have known that there was a problem and did nothing to monitor the situation or try to prevent the almost inevitable. Again, I will repeat, unless there is fire or blood, their hands are tied. Evanston is a place I thought we would be safe to raise my family. Instead, there are porch-side executions where my kids ride their bikes, where my 13-year-old daughter walks home to a crime scene and dead bodies are on the sidewalk. The haunting images of this day have rattled my family to the core. The entire city of Evanston should demand more because this is a half block from Evanston Township High School. We should all have the right to be served and protected equally. I know the parks in Evanston do not get neglected like ours. The parents of my kids' friends point that out. I know that if there was a pile of rubbish in a yard, perhaps in another part of town, it would have been handled more promptly. Now my kids' friends cannot come visit. My friends and family do not want to come to our house. Our property value will plummet, and their hands are tied. We are trapped, and unless there is fire or blood, their hands are tied. Our family is now living in an absolute nightmare. We and our neighbors demand to feel safe and protected, the same way neighbors do on Chicago Avenue or Central Street. We want our park to look like Bent or Penny Park, not something out of Chernobyl. Stop turning your heads and pay attention, because there is fire and blood in and on our streets. There is not just a murderer in our neighborhood, there is a murderer in our city. I feel that I have failed my children because this is not a better quality of life. Rue Simmons replied almost immediately to the family's email, and the response was forwarded to me. I completely understand, agree, and will take more action. We have got to do better. I'm sorry you are feeling this way. I've shared your experience on my blog and was furious and heartbroken. I continue to share this frustration today. I will start with the property standard matter and request increased police visibility, park updates, and more attention from property standards and public works. Please let me know in addition to contacting 311 so we can address these matters with urgency. Again, my apologies that we haven't done more sooner. Onward. Evanston 5th Ward Alderman Robin Rue Simmons. One neighbor explained how they moved their family to this neighborhood in 2013 after the city promoted Live Evanston, pitched by Evanston as a neighborhood stabilization program. The neighbor describes scraping, scrambling, sacrificing, and jumping through hoop after hoop to prove they be model homeowners in an area the city claimed to be committed to revitalizing. The neighbor described attending the required homebuyer counseling course, applying for 2 loans, and promising that their family would be the only individuals residing in the residence for the next 15 years. They say the city, utilizing 50 single-family homes and condos in Evanston's west and south neighborhoods, which had, due to the foreclosure crisis, become vacant, had rehabilitated these properties and sold them to buyers with qualifying incomes. The neighbor tells me that in addition to the lure of home ownership, the city's program even threw in as a perk a new bike upon moving in. One Hovland Court neighbor shared a report they said they'd recently requested from the Evanston Police Records Department, detailing how many times the police have been called to their street. The trends in the documents they share with me are troubling, yet hardly a full picture. For instance, this report doesn't go back far enough to include the 2/9/2018 murder of Yazik Seamark, 20, in the alley of the 1800 block of Hovland Court. These are the screenshots that she received. So where does a neighborhood, a city, and a nation go from here? How do we address the issues that lead to this ongoing trauma? How do we attend to so many matters deserving our collective understanding and attention? How do we better protect everyone in our community and ensure everyone is afforded equitable opportunities? With these questions and more in mind, I reached out to lifelong Evanston resident Dr. G. Kwesi Cornell Logan, a diversity and inclusion strategist and president of Logan Consulting Services, LLC. I asked Logan how he felt after this latest incident and how he thinks, quote, onward, end quote, might look. In one word, I feel pain. It's a shocked sadness, though I am not surprised given the crisis in our community today. A crisis of marginalization and powerlessness. A crisis of identity. A crisis where we as a society have lost too much for our humanity. This incident is yet another ember in the fire of trauma that burns parts of our community from within. I know a couple of the boys impacted by this tragedy. Some are classmates of my son. This happened right down the street from the home my family and I lived in these last 23 years. And in those years, nearly 24 black males have been shot and killed in the few block radius of my neighborhood, a few of them on my street and on my block. Some of them I've known personally. This is tragic. We as a community need to find creative ways to pull together our resources for the betterment of our youth and our elders. From my experience living overseas with many indigenous people and cultures of color, I've come to see and know that one absolutely essential part of the remedy is a rite of passage for our youth to become authentic, successful, and engaged members of our community, cultivating in them an identity, skill set, and purpose they carry with them throughout their lives. This would require a pooling of our community resources in a way I do not think we have yet seen. A rite of passage may not be the solution, but it is without a doubt a part of the solution. From my experience and from my work, I've come to know this in my soul to be true. In my opinion, it should be part of reparations, supported by every facet and every level within the Evanston community. In this way, too, Evanston can be an example for the nation. But first, we must be that example for ourselves. Each incident like this chips away at my being, yet each chip fuels the fire of my determination to do something about this. However, the light and heat from this fire are not reaching far and deep enough yet. This feels like unspeakable emptiness, and it hurts. What I suggest with the concept of a rite of passage and developing identity are not only ways we struggle, but ways we can work our way out of the crisis we are in. We are not free. This is not freedom. This is part of the legacy of Black people in America, fighting for liberation, justice, and the soul of the nation. Onward, to me, means that after 401 years now, the struggle for liberation in this country continues. Signed, Dr. G. Kwesi Cornell Logan. I implore everyone who reads this to imagine how it felt for the neighbors who've repeatedly reached out to so many, unsure where to turn, feeling lost and asking for help, looking for those who might actually do something. Will you be one of those people, whether here or in your own community? Will you step in and be a part of the solution? I welcome and encourage your comments. This piece was wrote by Christine Wolf. She is a writer, coach, and community activist from Evanston, Illinois. What a fantastic piece she wrote there. That's a picture of the skateboard that she was describing with the wheels pointed up to the skies. This situation is only getting worse, guys. Something has to break here. And another thing I want to say is that you never know who's listening to these stories. You never know who this situation personally affected. That's why I try to put as much respect on the reading of the article. I try to be concise and accurate, and most of all respectful, because these are people's lives. This is really going on. This is not some fantasy. This is not some fiction. This is real life. Please share this article. Please share this video. I want people to hear this. I'm going to end this story on that note, but thank you so much to Vanette Harden for sending this story to me. I appreciate it.